Hello and thank you for watching. My name is Heather Alexandra, and I'm here to talk critically about games. I like when games confuse me, when they truly and completely puzzle or bewilder me. For most people, this is a big issue, and I understand it. They want games to be clear and understandable. It's a basic cornerstone of game design. Games seek to properly convey and express objectives and information to players because that information is crucial either to providing an understanding of how the player can complete the game, or because it offers context for what they're doing. Players like to know what to do next, and they like to know why they're doing it. But I truly do think that some of the best experiences can come when we're robbed of context, when we're unsure about what we're doing, and when games don't explain their rules. This is Asemblance, a first-person adventure game where you take the role of an unknown individual diving into their own memories. The entirety of the game is obfuscated. It's very confusing. We don't know who we are, and we have no real notion of our goal or what we're looking for in these memories. The game even starts off trying to confuse us. We're told that there's a big emergency, but it turns out that it's just a test from the AI that's overseeing the experiments that we're participating in. The entire game is predicated on confusion, and this includes how you progress. In Asemblance, you mostly just move around and examine objects. Making associations between objects might trigger shifts in the environment or launch us into other memories. And while these associations might have an underlying logic, say, like looking at a clock to pass time, players have no foreknowledge of any potential effects their examinations might have. Video games are strange. They're a tactile experience as much as they are an intellectual one. You actually have to use your body when playing games. Even with a controller, you have to use your hands to move the controller around so that then your character can move through the game space. This has a really odd effect when it comes to a player's relationship to the character that they control. In Asemblance, we have to sort of embody and act out confusing processes through obsessive culling of details and retracing of steps. This process allows us to share in the main character's confusion in a very noteworthy fashion. Their confusion and lack of control becomes our confusion and lack of control. As they get caught up in an ever-shifting and confused dreamscape, we also have to navigate that space in a far more literal fashion than if we were reading a book or watching a film. When the space changes, we actually have to move our body, at least our hands, and navigate through it. Asemblance has many endings, some of which are incredibly esoteric in their achievement. In the most dire of circumstances, the game forces players to perform a sort of simulated obsessive-compulsive disorder. You have to walk over here, then wait for 1 minute, then interact with this and only this object once, and then run down a hall, count to 16, and then see if you've triggered a requirement. If you fail, run back, start from the top, and repeat over and over and over until you get it just right. These desperate actions, bordering on the irrational, are something that we, the player, must perform. And in doing so, we act out the altering and potentially degenerating sanity of the main character as they're trapped within their memories. Confusion can benefit games in less literal ways as well. This is Inside, the spiritual successor to Limbo. It's a game that relies on confusion to achieve emotional tone. Consider how the game begins. You hit start and are dropped into a forest. You encounter a truckload of people being loaded and taken away, but you still venture on. The boy you're controlling takes a low posture as you sneak forward, and you see people in the forest, and you know, these are bad people. But the tension is heightened by a lack of context. It isn't clear what's happening or why you're running. You don't know who these people are. All you know is that you need to get away. Confusion about the scenario overlaps with a player's With the character's visual apprehension and anxiety, the boy actually gets nervous in certain situations. He'll crouch down and look towards threats. And this allows the player not only to feel more immersed in the moment, but also facilitates a greater degree of empathy between the player and the boy. Inside uses this technique a lot, creating confusion in the player in order to draw them into the game world itself. It continually introduces foreign elements, such as contraptions whose functions aren't entirely understandable. When we encounter these objects, our confusion helps to emulate the boy's fear. More often than not, we are wandering straight into danger. We lack the same context as the boy. He has more knowledge of the game world because, hey, he lives in it. So the game opts to leverage our confusion and sets us up to be shocked and terrified in different ways. We might try to examine the new objects, only to die a swift and cruel death. And our confusion is being used to trick us into experiencing the horrors of the world so that we can better understand why the boy is running and what he's running from. Now, this isn't to say that all games should be vague about their stories or obfuscate how to progress. However, from time to time, it's alright to be confused, to feel the mounting frustrations that come with the notion of being trapped or uninformed. In games, facilitating this experience can be crucial to connecting us to the world and the characters we control. It can help us empathize and aid us in truly diving into the game. Not everything can be map markers and rainbows, and sometimes that's for the best.